Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.wordpress.com and thank you for joining me today for another card making tutorial. We're going to use today's tiles stamp set today along with its coordinating die set, which is called field tiles. So that's what we're doing, and I'm going to do a bit of embossing, bit of heat embossing. So I'm going to show you this sample that I've made. So this uses vanilla, very vanilla cardstock, and then a bit of ink blending over the top with cinnamon cider and terracotta tile. The background's been clear embossed, and then I've embossed in gold over the top, and then I've used terracotta tile cardstock for this pretty die, cinnamon cider and very vanilla for the sentiment. So that's what we're doing. So I thought I'd try and do it again. There was a few little weird and wonderful things that happened with this one. I don't think I dislike it. It just wasn't really what I was going for. But the embossing kind of, some powder strayed onto what had already embossed, and it's kind of given this mottled effect in the background. As I say, I don't dislike it as such, but it just wasn't what I was going for. So it's not a perfect science at all. So if you just bear with me, and then so it's a bit of a longer video. Just put my other light on to try and minimise that shadow. Actually, is that a bit better, isn't it? Okay. So I'm going to go with purple posy for the background and use Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape inks to do all the inking and stuff. So I'm going to use the Stamparatus because I'm doing 2 sets of the, could just do one I guess, it would save a bit of faffing about, but I wanted it to frame the I want the embossing to frame the die cut. And what I didn't do was mark where that needed to be. I think it's there. No, it's a bit over. Should have marked that before I took it off. I'm trying to get those circles, moved it the wrong way. That'll do. So that's where I want that one to be. I'm just going to take that down just to keep it secure. Bring a magnet in to there, and I'm going to bring in an embossing buddy because we're going to emboss this. This just minimises any excess powder getting caught on the cardstock and getting held on that the natural moisture that's in it. So that's all that is. I'm going to use clear Versamark ink to do the embossing. So you want a really good coating of this, backwards and forwards a couple of times just to make sure it's covered completely. So we get a nice crisp image. Okay, bring that across and press down, and because it's photopolymer, you'll kind of see, you know how you put, when you put glass together and it kind of makes that, you can see where it touches, it'll do that. And if you lift really gently, you won't lift your cardstock too much, because you know it just does, you can't avoid it lifting the cardstock, and that wasn't supposed to happen. And that tape didn't do its job, did it? I've had all sorts of trauma just even trying to get this video recorded today, so this is just an extra one, isn't it? bear with me a moment. Right, so that's approximately right. Sorry about that, everybody. So just re-inking this again then. So things do go wrong, despite having done this at least once before for the demonstration card. Doesn't always go right. So I moved the window down 2 notches so that this is now lying below the previously stamped image. I'm going to take that off because I don't need that again. Leave this out, and I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder and a tray. I'm going to tip that powder all the way over that and tip off the excess. So I just so happen to have a great big container of that I like to use to tip on over the top of my image. Just giving that some light taps just to make sure we haven't got anything stuck where it shouldn't. That's fine. Push that to one side. I'm just going to put this powder away before I knock it over. And also I need my tray for the second colour, so just going to tap that out of the way and put it away. Just for a moment. Right, the heat tool is loud, so just fair warning there. So I would recommend you switching your volume right down. I'm going to do it away from the camera, so that's how it looks right now. Okay, so I'm just going to spend a minute just doing this off camera. Okay, and I shall be back in a moment. Okay, so we've now got that embossed and it's all nice and shiny. Okay, so it does warp the cardstock a little bit, so I just like to just sort of wiggle it a bit in my hands just to try and flatten it out a bit while it's still warm. Okay, let's put that to one side just for a moment. I'm just going to bring in some scrap paper. I've been doing some Christmas stamping on. Now what we're going to do is sponge over this with Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape inks. I'm going to do some Gorgeous Grape in the middle, kind of in a circle I think. The other card, the colours are close together and I did it in a bit more of a random way, and I don't think you really get the definition between the colours, so I'm just using a stamping sponge, quarter of a stamping sponge this is, getting that well inked, starting right in the middle, and I want quite intense colour, so I'm just going straight in over the top of that embossing. And because we've embossed on the coloured cardstock, that pattern that we've already done is going to remain purple posy. Okay, you could really go to town with this and do all sorts of things. Okay, so that's what we're doing with that. So that was Gorgeous Grape, and then Highland Heather I'm going to add around sort of the edges if you like. I'm going to cover the whole thing. Should have another, let me just grab another piece of paper to hold this down, because otherwise my fingerprints are going to end up all over it and I'm going to end up purple. Now I think what I'm going to do is go over that centre portion with something even darker. I think I might pull out the Blackberry Bliss. I think these colours are too close together to really make it pop. So I want that centre section to really come out. So Blackberry Bliss then, I think, is what we're going to use. Let me just grab that ink pad without knocking over my light. So that's going to be a really, really dark colour. So I'm just going to hold that in the centre. So I really want that centre section to be darker. Poke through. Okay. That is looking more intense than it was. And that die cut's going to sit over the top of it. I just want that contrast. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of tissue and rub the excess ink off that embossing. Like so. Okay, so that's what we have now, which is really nice as it is. We could leave it there and then do all the embellishment over the top, but I thought we'd push the boat out and we'd try and do almost like a double embossed thing. Okay, so again I'm going to go over this really generously with this anti-static tool, wiping that powder over there, just tapping that off a bit. Okay, need the not the embossing tool. Stamp Artist needs to come back. And this time I'm going to position this anywhere old, because you have to move the cardstock in between these two embossing rounds, if you like. You have to reposition your stamp set straight away. So there's a coordinating stamp that kind of fills in the inlay of these patterns, and you want to get that lined up over your the purple bits that are showing, basically underneath those patterns. The cardstock's going to want to wibble about underneath it, so it may not be super accurate, but it'll be thereabouts. And then you get that kind of mottled look on the end of result. And if you bring it, once you've put your window down on there and take it closer to you, you stand a better chance of seeing whether it's lined up. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure all these little dots and whatevers are lined up over those purple portions. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. So that appears to be in place. I'm just going to lift that really gently. We've got two magnets in place this time, so hopefully that's going to be fine. So again, we're going to use Versamark ink. Get all those little bits covered. I think I missed a bit on my original sample, so I'm just trying to make sure those corners are covered with plenty of Versamark ink. Okay, and then take that over and again press it down really nice and firmly all the way across. And lift that carefully. Take it down 2 steps and ink that again. So just trying to make sure I catch those corners because I know I missed them last time. Lots and lots of ink. Okay, and then obviously the theory being that we moved the previous image down 2 spaces, so we're just going to go with the fact that that's going to have lined up near enough anyway, and lift that off. Slide the magnets out of place. Those magnets are so strong. And then instead of gold, we're going to bring in some silver onto this. Have I opened this? Oh, this is a fresh. Oh, it's a fresh tub. I've not used this one. Okay, so they come sealed. Oh, they come sealed in the first instance, like this. They usually come off easier than that. Oh, that's annoying. Oh. I did not realise I had not used this tub. Have I got another open one then? Oh. Anyway, that's how they come. So, sprinkling that powder over there. Giving that a really good flick so you can get most of that excess off, and that's looking better than the first one. Maybe a bit of powder catching on the centre ones, but a lot of that will be covered up by the decorative die cut. So I'm just going to tip that away. So, and again we're going to get that embossed for you, and I shall be back in a moment. Okay, so now we've got the little infills of this embossed in silver. Okay, that's how that's turned out, and those spots have lined up absolutely beautifully. Okay, really cool, really cool. I say it's a bit speckly in the middle, but that's going to be covered up by our die cut and our sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to use a Purple Posy card base just to tie it all together, and we're just going to use some Stampin' Seal for that. It's nice and strong, so even though it's a little on the wibbly wobbly side, it is stronger than our old snail adhesive, but I'm still going to put plenty on to make sure that stays in place. Standard card size, by the way, and I use my usual card layer size for the Purple Posy panel that we embossed. So that would be no, it wouldn't be at all. It would be 4 inches wide by 5 3/4 inches long. Just giving that a really good press down. Okay. this. Alright, so the die cuts, this is that beautiful die from the field tiles that we're going to use, and I was going to do that in Highland Heather. Just wondering whether the Blackberry Bliss would pop more now that we've used it, and I would think it does, so if you bear with me a second. What's the bit? I haven't got any Blackberry Bliss cardstock. And oh, just ruffling through my there might be enough scrap somewhere at the back, but maybe not. Okay, there's about Rich Razzleberry. I haven't got any gorgeous grape either. That's what happens when you change plan halfway through, isn't it? Okay. Rich Raz might be the closest we've got right now, unless I've got a scrap. Okay, right, Rich Raspberry is wouldn't be my choice ordinarily, or should I stick with the Highland Heather to keep it all tonal? I think I prefer the Rich Razzleberry. Okay, just going to, my cut and emboss machine is just off here with die cutting a thin die. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. So platform number 1, number 2, first cutting plate, and then which is a number 3, and then a second cutting plate on top. The usual crunching and cracking that we are accustomed to. And I'm just going to show you this on the cutting plate. So that's come out completely clean, right? And then on the plate, apart from one, see how it's all just stayed in place. So if you wanted to do paper piecing with this, you could actually lift out all of these little sections. So if you used your take your pick tool, you could actually pull out these sections and then place them somewhere else. Is that super cool or what? However, that is not what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to pull that off and just use the pick tool just to push out those little bits, and they come out really nice and easy. No bother. The dies from Stampin' Up! Now cut incredibly cleanly, so they come out without any bother whatsoever. There is a brush adapter to this take your pick tool if you find that this is particularly tricky to do. Push those into my bin because I need to die cut a sentiment as well. You don't want bits on your plate for your next round, so I'm just going to replace that there, ready for that. And while what we're going to do is centralise this onto our emboss pattern, and we're going to use some wet glue for that on these larger portions. Just here. And a little speck in each corner. Like so. So we'll get this into place and put it under a block just for a minute while I stamp and die cut the sentiment. So I'm just lining up these little bridges, I guess, in the die with the gaps in the stamping, just so that they all looks straight. So I'm just going to put my D block on there, which seems to fit quite nicely. I'll just give it a couple of seconds to dry, and I think we'll bring in the back in the gorgeous grape. Let's stamp our sentiment. 1, 2. If you never just light tapping on the ink pad is all you need. No Hulk Hogan's. If anyone knows who Hulk Hogan is, stamp it there. Firm, even pressure. Just hold it for a couple of secs, and you're good to go. Easy peasy. Stamping's easy. Had a conversation with somebody about stamping, and how they just can't get it right, and I'm like, oh, you just need practice and good products. So we're going to line this up over this sentiment, like so. Use some washi to take that down. Again, using our 1, 2, 3 sandwich to die cut that. It's a nice little bit of detail on there, which is lovely. Okay, just one little, a bit of a flick often gets the any remaining little hangers on. Wonderful dimensionals as always. I'm just going to add that to the middle. Haven't added any ribbon or bling or anything else, because I feel like we want this to be the showcase. So again, using the die to position that so it looks like it's in the middle, and there we go. It's a bit of a, sorry it was a bit long, and we had a little bit of a mishap with the alignment in the Stamparatus at the beginning, but we've got there in the end. So I think I'd put that under a bit of a book. This one seems to have warped more than that one. I don't know why that would be, but anyway. So there you go. 2 cards using a double embossing technique. Different colourways. I mean, there's loads of different colours you could use with that. I think it would be nice green, actually. Green and gold would be cool. Okay. Just jade. With some shaded spruce over the top. I think that would look lovely. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to give it a go. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you everybody. Take care. Stay safe. Bye bye.